Right. Hey, welcome everybody to we're not calling it a podcast anymore. We're calling it a live cast because we're doing this live every Thursday at 2 p.m. And with me, as he has been for the last several Thursdays, is Chris Johnson. Chris.
How we doing, Tom?
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
We did these things before and they were recorded. So, right. We might do it one day or maybe even 2 days before the weekend. And by the time we got what we wanted to have out, there were some days where things actually changed, where we'd say, hey, the market's crashing, and the market had actually rebounded and vice versa. So I like this better. I can't go back and, none of the guys in edit can post up something if we screw up. I just like it that way. Plus, it's easier just to, send the thing on its way to YouTube and Spotify and, get things going. So, I'm glad you're able to make the time.
Oh, you know what? For you, it's always fun sitting around chatting with you, too. I mean,
it is. I mean, it's you and I kind of become little trading partners here. So
that's right.
We bounce ideas off of each other. So let's, let me start it off by saying this. I love small business owners. The reason I love small business owners is they get it. All right. I got a guy that's doing a couple of our houses and he's cleaning the roofs. You have to do this in Florida. We all have, a lot of us have these barrel roofs, that barrel tile.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff. And, it's so humid down here that after years you could get, you get dirt and you get algae and you get stuff that's it just starts to mold up on there, and you got to get these things cleaned off. And so anyway, I'm talking to the guy and, he's like, hey, I can do your house for this. If you're going to combine some houses together, I can do it for that. And, get to talking to him, and he knows who I am. He knows me. And then he's, a YouTube guy. I'm one of them. I'm not the YouTube guy. I'm a YouTube guy, but anyways, like, yeah, he goes, and so he's, we're talking about, small business. And I said, yeah, I used to work for a big brokerage firm. And, after Optionetics, and I said, I like doing this because I can do it when I want. And in fact, if anything, my wife's the one that keeps telling me, you got too many things going on. You need to pull back on some stuff. But I mean, I have to say, I love doing this, and I love the live streams. They're a lot of fun. But This guy gets it because he knows that he can do things on his own time. He also knows that if he wants to do a side hustle, he can. I call this kind of a side hustle. It's a side hustle, but keep in mind, I say this to the folks that are viewing this on YouTube, all of our profits on YouTube go to charity. So it's not really a side hustle for me. It's a side hustle for those that are benefiting. So I kind of make this a whole beneficial channel. Benefits the folks that are watching. Hopefully you can learn a few things. And of course, the proceeds we have benefit various charities. Anyway, I want to give you my love. Here's my hate. Here's who I hate. Got to say it because it just popped up again right before we come live, is these scammers that are infiltrating my channel every time I put something out. And it's going to be on this video too. Somebody's going to say, and they write this big, long list of something. And down at the bottom, it's, I use Roderick, blah, blah, blah. And he's the best expert. And he trades for me. And he's taken my 1 Bitcoin. He's turned it into 6. And here's his WhatsApp number. Here's his Telegram number. Folks, first of all, if anybody's that big in money management, they don't answer WhatsApp calls. They don't answer Telegram calls. It's a scam. But here's what's happening now. What I'm noticing is because Bitcoin has dropped down, it's not 65,000 anymore. In fact, it's sitting on the lows right now. It's sitting on fib lows right now in the low 30s, 31 and change. The scammers have changed their tune now. It's not Bitcoin anymore. It's Forex. Oh, my Forex trader, he's the greatest. So what they do is they tell you to deposit Bitcoin with them, and they'll trade Forex in it, and they'll make more Bitcoin out of it. No, they won't. They're going to take your Bitcoin and they're going to make it their Bitcoin. So I'm giving you, this is my public service announcement right now, Chris. I'm warning you, don't fall for the scammers.
I'm gonna write it down. Hold on a second.
Don't fall for the scammers.
It's right under feed.
I delete these guys. I mean, we put resources into deleting these guys, and the stuff just comes like crazy. And we delete some of these, and then sometimes we'll leave them up. and put a reply down at the bottom that says, "This is a scam. Read through the whole thing because you'll see it in other channels too. Don't fall for it." Anyway, okay, enough of that. What's in the news this week, Chris? What's moving the markets?
What's new with the markets is, well, I think the biggest thing you got to look at is what happened yesterday when we had that 2:30 or so. You had a group of people from Congress come out and say, "Hey, we're not going to sign any type of, bill that's $3.5 trillion until we see some details."
Oh, you're not talking about the charter flight from Texas to DC that costed taxpayers $150,000 because they didn't want to vote on a voter ID bill, so they went to Washington because everything gets fixed in Washington, right?
Yeah, exactly. You couldn't think of a better place to fly to get the work done or avoid the work. I guess actually, you know what? If they were trying to avoid the work, that was a pretty good place to fly.
Yeah.
But no,
hey, things are going to happen, and you know what it does? To me, the news creates opportunities.
Yes.
You know where to look. So my news, and this is, I want to get into the space race. I want to talk about, the race for the billionaires. That obviously a lot of people think that Richard Branson was the first to make it to space. I'd say he made it to the edge of space and fell back down, and Virgin Galactic stock went up and down almost as fast as he did. Yep. We'll get into that. But you know what? Amazon stock was a great play on this whole space race thing too. Tesla, we'll look at it too. But those are the three billionaires. And can we make some money off the billionaires? And so I did this week. It was not easy. All right. It was not easy. And I'm going to get into details with that. But, I think the first thing we want to talk about is, and let me put a screen up real quick so people can see what it is we're looking at here. I'm going to put a chart up of the S&P 500. So here we go. And so this is a little different because what I have up here, Chris, is probability cones. Probability cones give me a statistical idea of where the stock market or stock in general I'm looking at is going to stay. And then, I try to look at trades around that. So looking at today, we did get a little bit of a pullback today in the markets. I think today's action is a lot of Fed-related action. If you look at some of the meetings that are coming out, they're saying, here's what I'm hearing. Inflation's coming, but it's going to be a short-term thing. Commodity prices have been jumping up, but it's going to be a short-term thing. Let me tell you what I see the bond traders looking at is that the Fed will react to inflation. Maybe not sooner, but if they see a return, especially like lumber prices where they skyrocketed and they came back down. If that's just a short-term blip and they start going back up again, you can bet that the Fed's going to come in and do something, and it could be just pulling back the liquidity arm. Tighten that up a little bit. The U.S. dollar certainly shows this month that they believe something is going to happen. It's going to, and so the U.S. dollar is kind of a short-term buy right now.
Yeah, it is. It is at $25, right around $25 on the UP. I think you start to look at that as an opportunity to jump on the dollar here. Yeah.
And bonds, your thoughts on bonds?
TLT, the same thing. I mean, if you look at the TLT, you're seeing everybody starting to get into the buying mood, breaking above the 200-day. Technicals work on bonds, that's for sure. And on the TLT, this is the best bullish signal or the best bullish trend that we have seen in bonds, really, Tom. My gosh, since, dare I say, it's got to be 2019. It really, this is 2019 or so is when you saw this type of a liftoff in bonds. I like the long bond long right now. I think you have to look at that and also consider, do you get the feeling that the Fed is as clear as mud right now and they're just leaving up to the market? Because that's
the whole thinking about raising rates is starting to get people a little nervous. But take a look. I finally got bonds up here. I'm going back and forth, and I must have in my stock list. I must have SPY, 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 because that's all that keeps coming up. So I manually switched to TLT. Here we go. Here's the bond market. This is a 75-day chart of TLT. You can really see since the end of May that the bond market's been rising, and I believe it's anticipation of the stock market pulling back, but it hasn't happened yet. And you were mentioning bonds, and I started mentioning UUP. So, I mean, let's just take a quick look at UUP, and you can see, 75-day chart, and this is a little bit tougher to see here. In fact, I'm going to turn the probability cones off on this thing. But if you take a look, let's see if this will help out a bit. Now, you know what? I mean, look at this chart of the U.S. dollar. I don't know why my software is doing this, but it's live, guys. What are we going to do?
Hey,
25 down here. We went down to the 24s, and in the last month, we've moved right back up into the 25 zone right now on UUP, which is the Power Shares Double Dollar Index. All right, let's get that off the screen as quick as possible because that's an eyesore. And hopefully it does the same. There we go. Same thing doesn't happen to me with oil, but there is the chart of USO. What's happening with oil, Chris? We bounced off that high.
Yep, we bounced off the high, and this is also a clear as mud situation. Just a couple of weeks ago, when you had OPEC, kind of everybody pulling the taffy and trying to figure out what could happen. I think you have to look at this in light of what Jerome Powell has said and what they're looking for in terms of inflation and it being transitory. That means oil prices should be coming down. I don't buy it. I think the trend is going to be firmly in place on oil here as we head into the second half of this year, or we're already in it. Watch USO shoot up to 60 at some point here, Tom. And I mean,
you think that's going to actually happen? When do you think that's going to happen?
Well,
I'm looking straight at you right now.
I'm looking at you right now. This is like a Brady Bunch thing with the boxes right now.
No, I know. I happen to set this up correctly where I'm actually looking at you now while we're talking. But when do you think this is going to happen?
You know what? I think before year's end, and I got burned last time I made one of these. So just those people watching that have seen me other places, when I called SLV hitting 29 by the end of February, I came really close. But when you look at this, I think that you're going to continue to see demand for oil, even though we're seeing a little bit of a fluctuation up here, a lot of profit taking in USO because it's been ridden pretty hard up to these levels. I think you could add another 15 to 20% in the next 6 months.
Here's my devil's caveat. Here's my caveat, or I'm going to play devil's advocate with you. So we are officially out of the seasonal bull pattern that has been going on in USO since mid-February.
Right.
Rode that up really well. I jumped the gun last week. I talked about this. Was it last week or the week before when I said that we're going to see oil pull back? And it did, and then it double topped on me. Yep. So this is a great example of the fact that you can be right on the market and still lose money, because that's what kind of happened to me with the short-term options.
Right. Popped right back up again.
I gotta throw that out there. We're not always right. Even when we're right, we're not always right.
No, I don't think either of us are trying to profess that we are, which is the beauty of it. I mean, we tell it like it is.
Yeah, I still think I still believe, based on all my patterns and everything I look at, that oil is going to ease off here for a bit. And let me tell you, if the U.S. dollar keeps climbing, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, if the dollar keeps running higher, you're going to see a slowdown in oil. We'll have to put an ice cream sundae on the line for this one. I think this is going to be an ice cream sundae bet, Tom.
Yeah. All right, now let's talk about the crap cream cone, and that is crypto. Here we go. Bitcoin, Thursday afternoon. I mean, I've got a 100-day chart on here, and nearly 100 days ago, we were at 63,558. And today, we're sitting right on the fib low. And, when you sit on the fib low, ladies and gentlemen, guess what we're going? We're likely going to be making new fib lows. I keep seeing videos out there. I see, these short clips, Kathy Wood, last chance to get Bitcoin before it goes crazy. Let me tell you what, I think there's going to be a few more chances to pick up Bitcoin at lower prices than here. I'm still a long-term owner of Bitcoin and Ethereum. I plan to continue to be long-term owners. I can't figure out where else you can put wealth and just be able to take it and put it on a little drive. Where's my thumbnail drive at? I probably lost it.
Oh
You
my
know,
God,
that's the other
that's
thing.
not
You can
good.
lose these thumbnail drives very quickly too. Put it on a little thumbnail drive and take it with you. You can't do that with gold. You can't do that with, I mean, you can do it with stocks, but the problem is that that's online. There's no other offline storage I know that's that good. That being said, you go back and you look at 3 year, look at these 3 year charts of Bitcoin. All right. The high of 2014, 3 to 4 years, the high of 2018. All right. Here we are. I'm sorry, 14. It was the end of, so let's call it 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we've had these 3 year highs, and then we have these troughs that happen. The troughs have come back nearly to the previous high. The previous high in Bitcoin was 20,000, was just around 20,000 before we fell back down into the high threes. Now, that being said, we could go back down into the low 20s to potentially 20,000. And it's, you know, if that happens, you're going to see a lot of people are going to get flipped upside down, and they're going to get shaken. They're going to get shaken. And Bitcoin's down 4.5% right now. I'm getting a price alert right here on my camera. They're going to shake the digital change out of people's pockets. It's the best way I can explain, Chris. And
Yeah,
I think it's going to go lower. And then I believe when everybody can't stand it, like anything else that has high volatility, that's going to be the time to back the truck up and put some money into it. And, 3 years from now, we're in six figures. That's where I believe this is going long term. But you're going to have to see some suffering. That's going to have to happen.
Well, that's always the case. You know, the old saying, you don't buy until you should buy when there's blood in the street. And if you look at what I think you just gave a great example with Cathie Wood. I mean, I saw the quote yesterday about how the environmental effect on Bitcoin is going to be a short-term thing, and it'll pass. Because that's what everybody was complaining about a couple of months ago, is when Elon Musk made his comments, and everybody started to jump on the environmental side of that, instead of just saying, hey, this is a trend that, and let's face it, maybe a mini bubble, we'll call it, that also was popped by Coinbase IPOing. But if you look at it, that situation pulls down. Stop making excuses, because whenever anybody is, I used to call it this, and you've probably heard it, the slope of hope. When everybody's making excuses and telling us why it's still a good buy, it's not a good buy. It's when they tell us they couldn't stand to have it in their portfolio and they had to sell it, that you go back and say, yep, I need this now.
I mean, look at gold.
Yeah.
Everyone hated gold a couple months when Bitcoin was making new highs. Everyone hated gold.
Yes. I
added to my GLD position, and it has quietly moved higher. Gold's gone up above $1,800 an ounce. Who's talking about it? Nobody's talking about it. I'll tell you when they are going to start talking about it, when it gets above $1,900 an ounce. Then you're going to hear everybody come out of the woodworks, and and we'll see where gold ultimately goes. But it's making the quiet run right now.
Okay, you know what? Now I'm gonna actually, Tom, you just pow. Ready? There it goes.
Go for it.
You just made me second think, and I don't change it. I'm not flip-flopping. I'm not doing a flip-flop here on USO. But all of a sudden, I'm sitting here thinking about how everybody is bullish on oil, including myself. And we tend to, if you can give, or if I can give, and I love it when you give tips as well. We've been in this long enough that we have these little things that we think of every once in a while. Man, when that light goes off and you go, oh, hey, hold on a minute. Everybody is doing the same thing as me. Yeah, I don't like being in that situation. And you just made me think about that because of you bringing up the fact that nobody, and I have positions in gold right now and nobody is talking, but everybody's bullish oil. I'm going to have to sit down and do a little bit of math tonight on the legal pad and make it real and find out what my year end's really going to be on USO. But you just made me double think myself here. Thank you, friend.
Well, and that brings up another point, is that I've been seeing more and more, because I spend a fair amount of time flipping through not only, mainstream media, but I flip through social media just to see where people stand. And I'm seeing more and more the case where everyone's saying the oil market, this person with a British accent, the oil market has gone decisively higher, over the last several years. and he's pointing out that oil and energy are the highest, have the highest return this year over anything else. And while that's true, why in the world would you want to go in and buy? That's like buying a house right now. You know, I mean, our real estate agent, who's my daughter, says, I don't know why anybody wants to buy a house these days. They're doing sealed bids. They're doing this, they're doing that. I'm selling property right now because of it. I just feel like I got to sell something just so I can feel like I took advantage of these highs.
Right.
That, you know, I mean, I might be wrong. We might just continue to go higher, but you know, there's nothing wrong with taking a profit. That's for sure. Especially in something where, you know, looking at, I'm like, okay, let's see. Why didn't I take a profit in Bitcoin? Well, I don't owe taxes on Bitcoin. I'm not getting maintenance fees on it. No HOAs. I don't have to fix anything with Bitcoin. Don't have to paint it. Don't have to fix the plumbing if something goes wrong. You know, I could push that aside. But now that I'm seeing something that was stagnant in the New York area, all of a sudden, you might think, why is New York going up? Everything outside of Manhattan's going up. What's happening is folks are moving just outside of Manhattan, moving to the burbs. So I'm seeing this as a potential opportunity to sell something that I thought I was going to have to hang on to for a lot longer. There's other reasons why we're selling too. But hey, no problem taking a profit. No. Speaking of profits, Chris, let's turn our attention to the space race. All right. So earlier this week, actually, let me back up to last week. So last week, Sir Richard Branson and 3 additional people, along with the 2 in the front, so I believe it was 6 total, went up in the Virgin Galactic Unity spaceship. They call it a spaceship, but it looked like a fancy plane to me.
Plane, yep.
And it ran to the edge of space. They got weightless for about 3 minutes, and then that thing fell back down. Almost as fast. I mean, it fell back down. I mean, it was over before it began. Yeah. Kind of like the stock price of Virgin Galactic, which was up and was trading very, very high in the 50s on Friday. And I mean, this was the best buy the rumor, sell the news event anybody could have ever had. And the only reason I was even alerted to it was because I saw it on my most expensive options list on Friday.
We went through. No, it was Thursday because we were looking at it
Thursday. It was also on Friday.
Yeah, it was on the show last week. Yeah,
but I mean, you know what though, Chris? It went a lot farther down than I thought it was going to, and I want to bring that one up. That's an important one. I've got another chart on the screen right now, and I will come back to it. Everybody, promise. But because I want to look at Amazon, because Amazon was my big winner this week. It eclipsed the small losers that I had. But let's bring up small loser number 1, SPCE. You got to be saying, Tom, how in the world did you lose money on this one? Because you got it so right. Yeah, I got it so right. But what I was doing, ladies and gentlemen, is I had call spreads right up here. They're going to expire worthless. That was fantastic. I had put spreads in the $35, the 30-35 area. So we're trading right now at 31.66. I gotta be at 34 by tomorrow's close to break even on that trade. 30, 34, 33 and a half, 34. Oof. So looked great on Monday, looked great on Tuesday. It was starting to get a little iffy yesterday. And today we went below my break-even line. But I'm going to hang on to this. I'm not going to hold Virgin Galactic stock because I don't believe in it as a long-term investor. I don't know how they take that. I mean, if you take a look at this is what I felt. I felt like I could find a better way to spend $250,000 than going on a ride up to space and then for 3 or 4 minutes and then coming back down. I think I could find a better way to spend that money. And I think a lot of other people were with me. And I believe there's some folks that were sitting in the spaceport that are on the reservation list and are thinking to themselves, oh, boy, that was cool and all. Do I get to keep the suit? Do I get to keep the helmet? You know, am I going to walk out of there with as much merchandise as I can? Maybe I could sell some of it on eBay and get some of my money back. These are the things that are going through my mind. So Anyway,
Oh my gosh, that's actually pretty funny. Now that I'm
so
thinking about it, it would only be better if Branson owned eBay so that he could make the money off of them selling the stuff on eBay after the.
yeah. So what I'm thinking is this, so let's talk about Virgin here for a moment. And we're finally getting some folks that are coming into the conversation with us here. I'm seeing it on the chat box. But when you see a probability cone, let me just I want to add something to this, but I can't right now. When you see a probability cone widen out like this, that tells me the options actually got more expensive. All right. So if I were to let me go over here real quick, I'm going to say bye-bye to crypto.
Bye.
And I'm going to say hello to some charts, but I'm going to look at the stock charts with implied volatility this time. So we're going to add on an overlay, and I want to add on those 7 to 30 day options. And I want to do it not on Nikola. I want to do it on SPCE. And you're going to see what I already know. That although, this was Friday. This was Thursday, Friday right here, folks. We were selling that 210 IV. It dropped down and it's down to like 120, 130, but it's still expensive. It's still expensive. So there could be a rollout play here I could do. So a lot of you are probably thinking to yourself, well, what do you do now? What do you do now? If the trade's underwater, it's not underwater by much. I definitely got the volatility right, but I might have to roll that trade. So I'll let this up here, the calls expire worthless. These puts down here, I'm thinking of rolling those into next week and bringing them down a little bit and see if I can eke out. But it's all based on what happens tomorrow. Let me show you another one. Not part of the space race, but how about the meme race? AMC.
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh. Where are the diamond hands? Where are the apes? Where are the space apes? They look like they've come back down to Earth. What do you think?
Tom, I'm just full of little quips on this. They got little butter from going to the movies all over their hands. They're slippy. Their hands are now slippy.
Yeah, they're not diamond hands anymore. They're butter hands. I love it. And you know what? We make little jokes like that, but right. I don't like to see people lose money, especially people that get influenced by emotion. They get them all emotionally wrapped up, and they throw all we call it stimmy money. That's what my nephews are saying. Oh, I put some stimmy money into it.
Yep.
Some stimulus money for those of you that need a little bit more than the acronym, because honestly, I didn't even know what they were talking about at the beginning. I had to hear it a few times, like, stimmy. So they put their stimmy money in stonks. That's what they're saying. Put my stimmy money in stonks, and they're getting stonked on. And that was my words. That wasn't theirs. They're getting stonked on. So you look at this move, and I'm going to blow this up so everybody can see it. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 days this thing has been down, and that 350. That's not the price of the stock. That's the price. That's the options implied volatility, which, by the way, has been going up this week as the stock is going down. Right. So when you take a look out here, you say, all right, well, what are we talking about? We're talking about a stock that was trading near 50 on Monday that's now down in the 30s. That is a big, big drop. If you go from 50 to let's call it 35, that's a 30% drop. It's a 30% drop in the stock. Stock's down 30% this week. And I'm telling you, people that came in on Monday may be heading out today or tomorrow, never to return, Chris.
Yeah.
And that's the part I feel bad about. We can joke about these things, but I feel bad about that because, you see some of these guys that have 20 and 30,000. I don't have 30,000 people on our live streams or live casts. I never will. I don't expect to. I'm too old and I'm too ugly for that kind of stuff to happen. Both, too old, too ugly. So, I find that I'm comfortable with my oldness. I'm comfortable with my ugliness. I'm comfortable knowing that the folks that are on here, I'm going to tell them exactly the way that I'm thinking and how I approach trading in a rules-based fashion. Okay, so I've yapped about this long enough. I do think that we're going to have some diamond hands come in here and pop this thing back up. I do think that's going to happen short term, but I don't like the look of this chart at all. 29.22. That's the fib level that if it doesn't hold there, we're back down. We're going back down below 20. We're going back down to 15. That's where I see AMC going. And I think people are going to get tired of, here's what I think is going to happen, Chris. People are going to get tired of the emotional roller coaster ride they're on, number one. Number two, do you think unemployment checks that are going to stop? Do you think rent moratoriums are going to stop? And do you think that a lot of this group are going to say, I just got to go back to work? What do you think?
I think, and I'm writing down moratoriums because you just brought up something that I think that, yes, you are going to have to. I mean, there is a flood of reality checks that are coming right now, whether it's a moratorium, whether it's a forbearances on some of these mortgages out there. And I'm not just pointing out at real estate right now, but there's a reality check coming, I think, for a lot of Americans. When you go out and the Burger Kings are closed because they don't have employees, Tom, things are going to get a little splash of water here. And AMC, as you're saying, a lot of people were thinking that this volatility was going to continue going in one direction. And as you and I both know, there's volatility that's good and there's volatility that's bad. Right now, the volatility that was good, whether it was AMC, whether it was GameStop, whether it was BlackBerry, the volatility that was good was celebrated, and it was, we're going to get rich on this. And now the people that haven't been around for 10, 15, 20, 30 years realize that the bad volatility also comes into play here. Yeah, I don't see it getting any better for AMC right now. No. Do you?
I mean, so I don't. You know what? I don't even like that space as a directional trader. I like it as an option trader to sell premium in, but figure out how to sell it safely. Now, right. Let's turn to a stock that I just continue to be cranking the register on week after week, and that stock is Amazon. And I'm not talking about being long Amazon. I'm talking about, Amazon's one of those companies where, they keep talking about stock split. I hope they don't split stock, because the day they split that stock, they're not going to do a 2-for-1. They're going to do like an 8-to-1 or a 10-to-1, and they're going to take this thing from $3,600 a share down to $360, and it's going to get rid of one of the best option strategies that I've been playing for the longest time frame now, and that is selling these iron condors on this thing very wide. And I'm talking about, I had sell strikes that were at 4,000 on the high side and 3,350 on the low side that expire tomorrow. And then what you do is just go out farther out and you buy some protection if you want to protect that trade. And so, I did really well this week, Chris. In fact, it ate up the little profit, the little loss on AMC that I took. It more than eclipsed the little loss that I'm taking on Virgin. Although those trades aren't done tomorrow, I'm going to leave them on all the way to expiration. And maybe what I do is roll out one of my trades. Which let me just bring this up real quick. So pop it on the screen here. Hey there has a quick question. How do you roll a trade? I don't know about that one. Hey there. So how we roll a trade is this. To roll a simple call, let's say you have a call option and it's not doing what you expect it to, but you wished you'd have bought it with more time to expiration. Rolling a trade, and there are several brokers that offer a roll as an option. So a roll is just simply, it's closing out a trade and reopening a trade very similar to it as one ticket. So let's say if I have XYZ 100 calls and I wished I'd have bought them for another month and we're down to we're down to expiration now, I could close those calls out and do what's called a roll, sell those calls, and then buy farther out calls as one ticket. So you can do it for a spread price. So you're basically selling to close what you own and you're buying to open something new. You can do that on any option strategy, albeit simple. I mean, I can probably even do it on butterflies and condors too. I know that Charles Schwab has a they have Street Smart Edge, which is one of
They
the
do.
platforms that
Right.
allow the roll to happen on spreads and on regular option trades. I believe Thinkorswim offers something similar. Interactive Broker, TradeStation, these guys all have their version of a roll. That's how you roll a trade. All right. So thank you very much for that question. That was a great one. So Amazon, I'm literally setting up these weekly paychecks. And so Amazon's down today. Does that affect my position? Not at all. The only way Amazon affects my position, if we go down below 3,350 by tomorrow's close. And honestly, I kind of hope, Chris, that we do go down a good bit tomorrow, because you know why? I want the volatility on Amazon, which looks like it's been going higher. Take a look at what happened to it. So it was down, when the stock was trading at 3,500, that vol was trading down there near 20. It was ridiculously low. Then it jumped up. We had that big jump up. Now, earnings had a bit to do with that. Oh, no, excuse me. It did not. What had a bit to do with it was there were two things that caused Amazon's price to move higher. Number one, Jeff Bezos backing off as the CEO.
New sheriff in town. That's right.
And then jumping on. And then number two was he's going to be going in space next week. He's taking the Blue Origin flight with the mystery bidder that bid, what was it, $23 million to get in the seat next to him. That was not me, Chris.
I was going to say, if I see a picture of you waving in the window, I'm going to get upset, but good.
No, just like I have a better way of spending $250,000 on a Virgin Galactic flight. I absolutely have a better way of spending $23 million.
Good to know there's consistency in your decision-making process.
I just can't pull that out of my back pocket. So no Blue Origin for me. But here's the thing: if we, my window of profit is somewhere north of 4,000 and somewhere south of 3,350. So as long as we stay in there by tomorrow, I'm good, and I'm going to ring the cash register big time. But you know what I'm doing? I'm seeing Amazon today going down because everybody's been talking about Amazon, Apple. What's Apple doing today? Is it down too?
It's down.
I haven't even looked at it.
Yes,
you want to throw a chart up there?
Yeah, I do actually, because this is one that
Give me a chart.
There you go. There's your Apple, which is just absolutely gone parabolic. There we go. My bad.
Yeah, I need you to share that screen with me.
There we go,
boss.
So
okay, there you go.
This thing has just gone parabolic, Tom. I mean, it's up more than 20% in the last 28 trading days.
Is that where it is today? Is it down right below my Tom's Trading Room logo?
It is down 1.04%. Here we can.
That's nothing.
We can bring that down. There you go. There's your movement today in Apple.
Yeah.
There's your movement today, and it's not seen one of these 1% days in a while where it was down better than when it actually closed. It's traded lower by more than 1%, not closed. This is, we talk about overbought becoming more overbought, and that's one of those rules that I just have to follow. Overbought can become more overbought, but there's a point where everybody has just jumped on the bandwagon, and you can feel the axles of the bandwagon getting a little heavy right now. And we're still 2 weeks away from earnings today, or no, yesterday. 2 weeks away from earnings.
Now that brings up a point. I like the selling strategies that that I'm doing against this high vol stuff, and that's the big reason Amazon's been cranking higher. Is you take a look at that red line right there. That red line is jumping up as we get closer to earnings. So earnings, the estimated data earnings is 7/29. If I'm not mistaken, that is a Thursday. The 30th of July falls on a Friday. I'm selling premium in Amazon next week. Absolutely going to do it. Probably going to do something tomorrow in the market. As I'm getting closer to my trade, getting close to expiration, I'm either going to roll it or I'm just going to let it expire worthless. I'm going to open a new position for the next week. But when we go into that earnings week, I'm going to have to take a hard look at it, because Amazon could have a 10% day up or a 10% day down. And I got this itchy feeling on the back of the hair on the back of my neck is coming up, and it's telling me Amazon's just, it's ready for a gap down. It's just, it's ready. It's ready for a gap down. Is the supply chain going to do it this time to us? Is the fact that we just haven't been getting a whole lot of stuff from China, is that going to spill over? I don't know. I mean, I have family in the manufacturing business, and they tell me a couple of things. First of all, plastics, commodity stuff, nobody's getting any of this stuff. Anything made with plastic, and what is that? Practically half of what we buy.
Everything, right?
Plastic in it. Yeah, the plastic beads that go into injection molds that actually make this stuff. It's almost impossible to get right now. So that, and then there's the supply chain problems we've got, and then there's of course this war on China, if you want to call it that, which I'm not even quite sure what that is anymore. But all I'm saying is, how is that going to affect Amazon's earnings coming up? And are we going to see that big move to the downside? I think if I had a choice, and it was to sell put spreads ahead of earnings or sell call spreads ahead of earnings, I almost feel like I want to sell call spreads, just because I don't think it's going to be good enough. Look at what happened with last earnings. It's on the screen. There's the big E right there. Let me blow it up so everybody can see it. See that E? Look what happened the next day. We had a gap higher. We closed lower. And then the day after, and the day after that, and the day after that, we just fell apart. Is that going to be the new pattern for buy the rumor, sell the tech stock?
Let me pull something up here and show it to you. I pulled this yesterday from my database, Tom, and it's taken a second to come up because it's got to make all its connections here. This is old school spreadsheet stuff, reaching out to the database and talking and saying, tell me what you got. So this is along going back to Apple, and you just mentioned the phrase that's
you have it on the chart.
Yep,
I see it.
There you go.
Let me. Yeah. What is that? Apple pre-post earnings. Nice.
Yes. So I sat down and pulled from the database yesterday.
So this is a Chris Johnson special chart.
Yes, you're not going to find this anywhere else. This is the last 5 years worth of Apple's earnings. And look at this disparity, this trend that's starting to form here in the last 2 quarters here. That red is the 20 or the 14 days ahead of the earnings announcement. 9.4% last quarter, 6.4%, and then the 2 weeks after. Usually Apple has follow through. You can see the blue is up there with the red. And if it's down to the downside, it's got follow through.
Wow.
In this particular case, we're seeing a disparity. Yeah. And what's that?
Copyright Chris, the Night Trader Johnson.
CJ Original. And the other thing that goes with this is there is a picture of their trend over the last 20 quarters here, along with their performance. And this is actually what's happened with expectations. So you're seeing expectations and actual results going down, and we've seen performance actually now start to catch up with that. It goes along with exactly what you're saying about Amazon. And when you factor in the fact that everybody's counting on Amazon, Tesla, Google, Facebook to do all the heavy lifting of the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500, it puts more pressure on them afterwards. That's why we're seeing these rallies right now. So I think it's something that everybody needs to keep their eyes wide open as we head into these announcements in 2 weeks, because the banks are kind of selling off, right? We're seeing mixed from the banks. But in 2 weeks, that's when the real fireworks start going off. I can't wait to see it, because this is going to be exciting. And I think that transfers to exactly what you're talking about with Amazon.
Wow.
I think you are dead on to something there, my friend.
Yeah. Copyright Chris WKRP Cincy Johnson. There he is.
Yes. I want to be Johnny Fever.
You know what? Let me show what that looks like on my chart. So this is we're looking at Apple right now. And you can see what's happened. Apple's just, notorious for going up a couple weeks prior to earnings. And then here's what happened last quarter. And I'm showing everyone watching the stream. You saw Chris's spreadsheet. Here it is in charts. So we had the pop up after earnings, the pop and drop. And then over the next couple of weeks, we fell back down. I mean, is that likely to happen again? One doesn't make a pattern, but you're showing several charts back, Chris, that suggest that we actually do have a pattern that's been happening there.
It is definitely, at minimum, you can call this developing. And I think if you look at the leadership out of the NASDAQ 100 to translate it into okay, why would that happen? Everybody loves the NASDAQ 100. That's kind of the safe haven lately here. It got us through the pandemic. It got us through a bunch of things. So everybody loads up on these ahead of earnings because they're feeling safe. And now that you've got this D variant, this Delta variant coming out, people are starting to feel a little like they need that warm blanket of the NASDAQ 100 around them again, like they did in 2020.
Yeah.
Crowded trade.
You know who's, speaking of Delta variant, you know who's laughing now? Corona. Corona's like, now you know what it's like to be us. We sold no beer last year. I bet your middle seats are going to be open, and and it's not because you're holding them. Yeah. Go figure. I actually traveled a couple weeks ago on a plane, and man, I haven't traveled in over a year and a half by plane. I stayed off the planes, and now I remember why. Because I get on a plane and I'm heading to Oregon, and I'm not heading to Portland because I'm just scared to death of that town. The lights could go out in Portland and we could fly over at night, and there'll be plenty of fire to guide us right into the runway. But I went into Central Oregon, and so I'm sitting in, I think it was Salt Lake City. My wife and I are sitting waiting for a transfer between planes. Now, Salt Lake City, what they do is when you go from Salt Lake City to Central Oregon, they take you by bus to the next flight.
Okay.
And my wife's like, what's going on? I said, this is called the tarmac, baby. And she goes, what's the tarmac? I said, that's what they call the asphalt that the planes run on. Anyway, we're sitting on the bus and nobody's moving. And all of a sudden we see these guys in yellow and hazmat suits going to the plane. So we find out that somebody threw up on the flight coming in. They had to clean the entire plane. They literally had to clean the entire plane down. And so we sat in this bus just packed in with people. Listen, if I was going to get that Delta variant, it was going to be on that packed in bus. My wife and I, we put the respirator. I am your father. We were doing a Star Wars impersonations for an hour on this bus. We'll see where that goes. It looks like the market's kind of callous right now to anything COVID. Do you feel like that?
No, I don't, because I look at the jets right now. Let's bring it around to how people can kind of trade this thing and look at it. I look at the jets, and not Benny and the Jets, or not New York Jets, the Jets, JETS, ETF. Yep. And this thing slipped below its 200-day moving average. Delta Airlines came out and gave us a mixed outlook. Wow. Did you see American Airlines try to sneak one in, a little shenanigans earlier this week, and say they announced next week, and they said, hey, we're going to give some revenue guidance right now. So they're kind of throwing, I don't know if it's, I said earlier to somebody, it may be lipstick on a pig, but it worked for a day, and it got the stock up to 22, and it's pulling it back to 20 again. I think you're seeing not only that, but in the cruise liners, remember, and I loved the cruise liners months ago. Look at the cruise liners, you look at Travelzoo, Expedia, Sabre, all of these, and I think that's where you're seeing the effect of the variant right now, the Delta variant.
You know what, though? If you were to look at tech stocks and you were to look at the overall market, you're not seeing what you see on jets. So this is really, it's really kind of travel focused.
Correct.
You know what's going up on this chart? Option
Volatility.
premium.
Huh? Your
Option
volatility
premium has gone up by 20%, more than 20% just in the last 2 weeks. And James, I'm with you. My wife was saying to me, she goes, is there any way we can get from Sarasota, Florida to Central Oregon on one flight? I said, yeah, we can. We can go private, but we're going to have to make a fuel stop somewhere. And she's nervous about private plane because she goes, but we're the only ones on the plane. And she just feels like they're not that concerned about the smaller planes as they are with more people on them. I said, we have that. That's a completely different, that would take all day to have a discussion with. I keep telling my wife she'd be a fantastic co-host especially when you just get into a regular queue.
Yeah.
But you know what I've learned? What I've learned about Italians, especially on my side of the family, all you have to do to shut them up is tie their hands behind their back.
Oh my gosh.
Because they're all all my family talk like this.
Yeah. Can you do the voice for me? Let me hear the voice.
No. That's my mother-in-law.
There it is.
She's like, have you looked at the book face? I said, you mean the Facebook, right, Ma? Yes. So everything is kind of, she speaks, I love her to death. She speaks half her sentences in Italian, half is in English. So I really only understand half of what she says. But understand this, if you're looking at jets, like we're having on the screen right now, if you're looking at jets, that is a volatility sell strategy right there. Right there. So,
yep.
So, Chris, what do you see happening for next week? What do you see going on for next week?
So I see, just from a general market perspective, I think you're going to find that you're going to get some buyers that come into this market, Tom. I mean, there's been some damage done here on the side of some broader selling. I mean, this started off in some of the obscure areas of the market. Now it's moving in some of the NASDAQ 100, and we're going to get that little pullback. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it maybe tomorrow finish up on a lower note. But you're going to have people that this market has been one that everybody loves to buy the dips on. I think there's a 10% correction out there waiting. We're in Shark Week right now. So I think I see the fin of the 10% correction kind of swimming around the beach right now. And I think that as we get through that third week of earnings, which is where the big boys are reporting, not the banks, forget about the banks.
Right.
I think that's where you start. So I think you get a little bit of a bounce next week, some strengthening. And then I think that follows up with a little bit of a roller coaster to the downside. Watch that VIX. VIX is the number one thing I'm watching right now. That is it. 18 is defining the top. Nobody wants the VIX to trade above 18, and nobody wants it to go below 16. So,
and VXX is what I'm going to end it with right here. So here's VXX on the chart, and you can see VXX and the options. There are options that trade on VXX, which is obviously kind of weird when you see the VXX, and it mimics, you can see, as it moves up and down, the options are mimicking this because it's basically a fear-based index. You can see that there. VIX is starting to rise a little bit as we go into earnings. Real quick to end out, I see us ending our short-term moves higher. The money counter has us going lower into the end of the month. I could definitely say the money counter has the VIX going higher because it's done that 9 of the last 10 years during this time frame. Chris, final words.
Watch your butt. Keep your shorts. You know what? If anybody's out there talking about hedging and stuff, keep it simple, man. Put some trailing stops in and start picking the options that you or the stocks you want to own. And like you said, Tom, premiums are going up. That means put sells start to become a good strategy if you're really looking to buy the dips. I think that's the way to go, right, Tom?
Yeah, put sales and call sales, call spread sales if you love the if you love that action to the downside. And I'm doing both. I'm at the point right now where I don't see any decisive moves to the downside because, I mean, where else are you going to put your U.S. dollars until, where do you put them? Right now, the best places to put them have been in commodities, obviously GLD. Some tech stocks have done really well, but now some I'm starting to see things that are kind of frothy. And so I want to trade both ways. I want to be bullish heading into the end of July.
Bullish. There you go.
Bullish. Yep. All right. Thanks, Chris. Guys, we enjoyed it. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. We will see you. Well, I'll see you next Monday on my live stream. Got some other cool announcements we'll be coming up with in the next couple weeks. Chris, have a great upcoming weekend.
You too, Tom. Thank you.
Same bat time, same bat channel next week.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Take care. Bye, everybody.